Okay, Tom, do you got another question for us?
Yes, I do. All right.
A little enthusiastic there.
Question from the community. I have a whole bunch of things I've been dreaming about and want to make. I want to work on all of them at once, but part of me feels like I need to just pick one to take seriously and focus only on that. What do you think is more productive, working deeply on one project or jumping between multiple active projects?
It's so tough.
Mm-hmm. What do you
I'm
think?
afraid to answer, but I think the answer is both. And let me explain this. This is hard. This is something I've grappled with for most of my career.
Hard.
I know I grapple with a lot of things, Tom.
Weak.
But I think it actually behooves the creative to choose one primary project and give it their all. But working on other stuff in the side to a lesser degree will inform that work and make that project better. If you go all in on one and don't focus on anything else, I think your level of burnout or your opportunity for burnout increases. At least it has for me, especially if it takes a long time. So I think kicking tires on other stuff too, maybe 15% of the time you're working on other things, it gives your brain another place to go to grow and learn apart from the thing that you're focused the most on. And it gives you a respite when you come back and you can come back fresh. That's how I like to think about it. We have to, in our business, we have to toggle between multiple projects all the time. And sometimes we have to step away from the creative passion project that's really got us lit at the moment. Like that's me right now. I'm running around doing things that I really don't want to do a lot of the time. And I haven't really made time for the thing that really I want to do. And one of the things I was going to talk to you about today, actually, Tom, was how we can protect that sacred passion work a particular portion of the day and then go do your chores, right? Because I think if you don't do that, then the passion can fade and the burnout can start.
Remember when I used to build that big box around my desk?
Yes.
And would enclose myself in
What
it?
did we call it? The tunnel?
Like the
focus,
creative cave. Yeah.
Cage, yeah.
What do you think about that, Krista? Do you like to kind of focus deep on one thing or jump between stuff?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person, but for me, I definitely like to have like a main thing and then other things that are kind of, I guess, growing in the shadows. Like me working on a main thing, and there's a certain point where you, or at least I, get like a sense of fear. Like you get to a point and it's like a kind of paralysis or, just certain times throughout the process. And in that time, I like to have something else that is low pressure, low stress. Maybe it's the other thing is getting in these refining phases where there needs to be, decisions being made and, harder things. And then to have other things kind of just growing like little sprouts that where there's not the pressure.
It is you. I can tell it's you.
Where there's not the pressure. Because I feel like, and it's almost like one project can be, in its seedling form, can be what you do when you're procrastinating from the other one. Because a lot of time procrastination isn't laziness, it's fear. And you go through these times where and so if you have other things kind of growing on the sides, then when you finish that big project, you already have all these seeds that have been low pressure and things like that. And then of course they have to be taken through those finishing stages, and then you have new side projects. And I find that to be really helpful for me to, be working on multiple things.
That's what I wanted to say earlier, but I couldn't.
That's why we have her here.
I know.
More sprouts.
We put her on the same couch as you two so we can just slowly zoom in on her and you just become forgotten.
It's the before and after.
I think there is some power to defining what you're going to work on and what you're not going to work on, though, too. Like the last couple of years, I've tried to focus a lot on like what my actual core values are, what my personal mission is. And when I've put focus into that, some of the other projects and ideas that I've had have fallen by because they were taking up space and energy in my head, but truthfully, they don't actually serve my deepest purpose. And so by focusing into that, the things that are falling off the side, now I have more energy to focus on the few things that maybe mean the most to me. The other piece on that too that I find is I think it's important to work on other people's projects too. So like if you're just thinking about all of the creative projects that you have and that you want to work on and be a part of, there is this just immense inspiration that can come from being a part of someone else's dream that can also feed into your own project. So maybe if you're looking for some variability, if you can invest your time and energy and effort into other people's projects, I think it feeds back to you. It also gives you a place to kind of experiment. Like maybe, it feels weird to say, because I'm like, Mark, I'm experimenting with your projects, right? I've got my own projects that
I'm going to do all the weird stuff in your space where I don't care what happens. And then
yeah, it gives you an opportunity to hone and master your craft for whatever your master project is, you know?
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think a lot of times going back to the idea of freedom, like when we're all by ourselves doing our own thing, we maybe have too much freedom and we don't have any walls to push against or anything to bounce off. So when you're working with other people, it's kind of like a way to form opinion.
Yes.
You can say, oh, I see we're doing it this way. Well, but what if I want to do it this way? And then you can take that to your own projects and try it there. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you were all by yourself, you might not have even had that thought.
Yeah, the only thing that I haven't seen, like I couldn't agree more with everything you guys are saying. I think there's great value in working on multiple projects. I experienced that personally. But I think the only thing we haven't really talked about is, especially for the person that asked this question, which sounds like aren't necessarily a professional. Like we have no choice but to finish our projects or we lose our homes or our apartments or whatever. Like if you're someone who's just trying to like on the side write something or make a game or do whatever your creative thing is, there is a trap of just doing whatever for you is the fun part and not pushing through and getting through the harder stuff. And I think, you know, if you were deciding, and it sounds like you are, like I want to take something seriously and actually finish something, then for you the most productive thing might be, for the first time in your life and the arena of whatever you're working on, you know, go to that next step. I know for years I had, you know, half a dozen unfinished projects because for me the like dreaming and conceptual phase is the fun part. Mm-hmm. And so I would work on that and I was in it and it was like the only thing I thought about, and I had 6,000 pages of notes, and then I do that for another thing and I do that for another thing and I do that for another thing, and it was just great and fun, but I never actually pushed through whatever the next step was that was hard for me. And so it was good for me to develop the discipline to just hit it on this one thing and really push it along. And then, yeah, if I reach blocked points or my passion is waning or I have all this creative energy that isn't finding currently an outlet in the main project because right now that project is in some other phase that isn't receptive to creativity, well, then I can use that productively elsewhere. But I think it is important to identify that you should have the main thing if you're trying to actually finish a thing.
Yeah, it's like you get these constant small dopamine hits from doing the stuff that is fun in the moment, but you lack then the serotonin that can come from the long-term satisfaction of making real progress and having something real to show for the energy and effort you've put in.
Yeah, and I think it's important. The more responsibility you have, the easier it is, or I guess the harder it is, to build time to get these things accomplished. Like your passion sometimes is the last thing that you have time for. And I think that is a detriment and an obstacle to getting it complete. And so the discipline of scheduling better and building in intentionally little windows to work on that, I think becomes something that is necessary for you to actually complete it. If you're a busy person and you have a lot of responsibility, I think it's, especially in the creative industry, if this is part of your job, that makes it easier. But if you have one or two full-time jobs and then you're also a parent and then you're also trying to do this thing on the side, you're going to need to cut something and you're going to have to be very intentional about those windows. And if you do that and you carve them out and you put them in your schedule and you execute in a disciplined fashion, I think your chances of succeeding are go way, way up.
So cut out parenting and right. All your creative dreams will come true.
This is not, I do not approve of this message.
Well, teach their own.
I need to be able to swing for my fruit roll.
whip it around the chandelier and fly across
It would
the
look
room.
like a giant snail. It would be like
Yes. Whip roll up. Fruit roll whip.